welcome to the Monday edition of Talking Football, where we cover all the events from the Premier League and the Bundesliga, and there's so much to talk about. With me here in the studio are football analyst Amit Leventhal and I24 News Merav Savir, who looks at all the reactions from the press. And on our show today, we will congratulate Chelsea on their Premiership title. We will ask if Louis van Gaal is the right man to lead Manchester United again next season. And we will look at Bayern Munich's preparations for the giant clash against Barcelona in the Champions League. All this and much more coming up. Let's get started. We knew it for weeks, but only last night it became official. Chelsea are the Premier League champions. After seeing the title go to the Manchester teams for the past 4 years, the Blues now made sure the trophy is back to London. Jose Mourinho's team may have not played the most attractive football, but it was very effective, as it always is, with the Portuguese manager, Sasha Rubo, and Ayman Siksek with the story.
2 years as head manager. That's what Jose Mourinho needed to make sure the championship returns to Stamford Bridge. Another standard 1-0 victory over Crystal Palace was enough to secure the club's 5th Premiership title, to the delight of the Portuguese manager.
You know, when you work so hard and you are champions, you feel that you got what you deserve. So that's that good feeling.
Mourinho is already a legend for this club, having led the Blues to 3 Premier League titles, 2 coming in the previous decade and 1 more coming now.
When you go back to a place where you had success before, you risk a little bit your prestige, your history, and I risk it. But we won again, and now I can say that I won titles for Chelsea with 2 different generations, separated by almost a decade.
There are some very big players wearing the blue jersey these days, but for the club executives, there is no question as to who is the real star behind this championship.
Jose is the guy who changed your mind straight when you start working with him. I think in the first couple of weeks working with him, you are already change your mind, change your philosophy, change everything.
For the fans, of course, it was time for jubilation.
I'm absolutely buzzing, mate. It just feels great to have the league, you know. After 5 years, come on the Chelsea.
Even for them, there is no doubt as to who is the hero, Jose Mourinho.
Oh, it's fantastic, isn't he? I mean, he wins all the time, doesn't he? So, it's a few more wins next year, European Cup.
It seems like this is the place where the special one really feels at home. Now it's time to start working on the next season in the hope of taking Chelsea even higher.
You gotta love that. Of course, Jose Mourinho, Amit, is the main focal point. It's the same Mourinho we've seen. That's how he won the Champions League with Inter in 2010. Even with Real Madrid, they were far less explosive than what they are now under Ancelotti. That's Mourinho, not the brightest football, very, very effective. You want to win, that's the man.
I think, in Real Madrid, he did manage, I think, over than 100 goals a season, and he broke some records. It was, more fascinating football, but the conditions in Spain, of course, are, much easier. Chelsea's season is you can actually relate to 2 halves. The first half of the season, they played magnificent football. They scored more than 2 goals a game, and they had control of games. But then in January things changed. The squad, he did not rotate. It was the same starting 11, and they started to get fatigue. Mourinho, after the 5-3 defeat at Tottenham, he decided to, and they lost to Bradford in the cup as well. He decided after those matches to be more, careful about his attitude, and it shows. All of their wins in the last couple of months, almost all of their wins were by 1 goal margin. So yeah, it tells you it's not attractive. All the other club fans, they like to taunt Chelsea that they are boring, but they would all have, willingly replaced them, if they could have. So I think Chelsea, they should play better next season. Mourinho have some points to improve. yet he does what he does best, and you never see him happy.
And Merav, the opposing fans may call them boring Chelsea. As far as their fans are concerned, no problems. They're the champions. Why should they care?
They're okay being boring. It doesn't matter to them. But like you said before, most of the focus is on Jose Mourinho. And The Guardian says the best way: Jose Mourinho must feel this is a special achievement, even by his standards. Saying there's an element of history that was made here. Mourinho is now the first manager in English League history to return to a former champion club and win the title again. So definitely focusing on him. And a little bit of reaction on Twitter. Chelsea's Twitter account, it took them about a minute and 30 seconds to change their Twitter name to Champions and to put up the champion title on their account. They just had to press enter. They just had to press enter, exactly. Grant Wall, a writer, also focusing on Mourinho, saying he's now won the league with Porto, Chelsea, Inter, Real, and Chelsea again, really highlighting his accomplishments. And then another Twitter fan comparing it to another big event over the weekend, Mayweather and Pacquiao, Liam McIntyre saying Mayweather and Chelsea, boring, but very effective.
Yeah, both are winning.
Yeah, and Mourinho, we must, he came after 2 seasons without any titles for the first time in his career, so he felt the pressure. Maybe that has something to do with the style Chelsea played towards the end, limping toward the finish line. But Chelsea did the job. Mourinho's 8th title in European football, 8th championship, he has 22 titles to his name. So, yeah, he's continued to be brilliant. Next year, he should do better in Europe, in the Champions League.
Yeah, we will.
And we should wait and see. Of course, Chelsea's opponents will be much stronger next season.
And while the fans in London celebrate, those in Manchester on both sides are left somewhat wondering. We begin with Manchester United, who lose for the 3rd straight time. This time going down 1-0 at home against West Bromwich. Jonas Olsson scoring the only goal of the match in the second half. Robbie van Persie missed a penalty later on. Manager Louis van Gaal was once again left with the task of looking for excuses.
They parked the bus, and then it is always difficult to attack because you have a lot of bodies in front of you, less time, and it is not so easy. And in football, and my colleague Jose Mourinho has said it before, it is more difficult to attack than defend. And it is not always the attacking team that wins.
Now, it's true that West Bromwich came to park the bus. Yeah. I agree, but that's what West Brom would do at Old Trafford. And this comes a week after they lost to Everton, and then Van Gaal said no energies. Before that, I lost to Chelsea. I think West Brom parking the bus is not the only problem.
No. Three losses on the spin is the first time in 14 years for Manchester United in the league. Suddenly, after they thought the second place is theirs, suddenly 4th place is in doubt because Liverpool is only 4 points trailing behind United. United have problems, they control the ball. They always have the possession, 80% by the way, against West Brom. Yet the cutting edge, they don't play. They have problems in the creative area. Even when they score and have good results, it's long balls to Fellaini. It's not the type of football you want to see, especially when you have players like Di Maria on the bench.
Something seems to be missing there.
Something needs to change. I think Van Gaal will nick the 4th place and will stay at Manchester. And to build in next season will be his big test because
season.
4th place will not be enough.
And Merav, what is the press take on this losing spree now by Manchester United?
They're focusing a lot on this losing spree, but they're even going into history to see how long it's been since something like this has happened. The Express, Manchester United in free fall, playing on words as Toothless Reds lose to West Brom. And they're saying that Van Gaal must have felt like throwing himself under a bus, if we're talking about buses, after losing the 3rd game in succession, saying that 2001 is the last time that the club suffered such a losing streak. And then the Independent, Manchester United versus West Brom, Louis van Gaal must avoid 4th defeat and lift United. And that's going back to even worse than that. 1978 and 1979 was the last time that Manchester United had a 4-game losing streak. So that's what people are focusing on. How do you just avoid that rather than what's come up to now? How does Manchester United avoid going into this historic low again?
It's nice to know that David Moyes hasn't broken all the records.
Yes, even David Moyes didn't do that. And while things look shaky for one side of the city, they finally look better on the other one. After some shaky times, Manchester City are back to business, winning for the third straight time, this time beating Tottenham 1-0 in White Hart Lane. Sergio Aguero scored the winner in the first half. The team that chased Chelsea through most of the season may be now far behind, but that doesn't mean they have to be impressed by what the newly crowned champions did this season.
Chelsea did this year exactly what we did last year. They won the Premier League, they won the Capital One. We did exactly the same last year, scoring more goals in another style. So I think that every year in the Premier League you have 5 important teams that all of them can win the title.
In other results from the Premier League, Liverpool kept the dream of qualifying to the Champions League alive when they beat Queen's Park Rangers 2-1 in Anfield. Southampton may have given up on that same dream as they went down 2-1 in Sunderland. One more match will be held tonight. Arsenal will try to keep the pressure on Manchester City in the fight for second place when they travel to Hull. With 3 matches and 9 points to be played, Chelsea have a 13-point gap over Manchester City. Arsenal are third with 3 points less than the Citizens, but with 2 games in hand, so the Gunners seem to be in a good position to end the season in second place. Manchester United thought they have secured their spot in the Champions League, but the recent losing spree means that Liverpool are now just 4 points behind, still with a chance of catching up with a 4th place at the end of the season. We move now to the Bundesliga, and these are the results from the past weekend. At any other time, we would call this a surprise, but when Bayern Munich already have the championship secured and are putting all of their focus on the Champions League semi-finals, it's not a real shocker that they lost 2-0 in Leverkusen. Second place Wolfsburg, who qualified to the German Cup final in midweek, only managed a 2-2 draw at home against Hanover. The rivals in the final will be Borussia Dortmund, and after their dramatic penalty shootout win over Bayern Munich in the German Cup, they traveled to Hoffenheim and returned home with a point following a 1-1 draw. The gap at the top is down to only 14 points. Bayern Munich are first with 76, Wolfsburg are second with 62. Borussia Mönchengladbach, who won 2-1 in Berlin, are third with 60 points, 2 more than Bayer Leverkusen in fourth. Amit, it's never nice to lose, but they can live with this loss to Leverkusen in the league. They can also live with the fact that they lost in the German Cup, even if it's Dortmund who beat them. But there seems to be some trouble for Bayern Munich ahead of the Barcelona match, especially physical when it comes to injuries. Something is not going exactly as it should be.
Yes, and it starts to remind us of last season when Bayern won the title as early as ever, and then they fell off, and we remember how Real Madrid punched them in the 2-leg semi-finals of the Champions League, and now they have the same task against Barcelona without some key players, Robben, Lewandowski, maybe Ribéry, Alaba. Too many good players, are missing, while in Barcelona all the stars are, in great shape and everyone's playing greatly. I think, Bayern, they should do something else because, too many injuries and the players change. Lewandowski hasn't been there. Some of the injuries are not the same, but they have too many muscle injuries. The saga with the doctor of the team, the Müller-Wohlfahrt, who was for 40 years the doctor of Bayern München. He left the club, but now he's still
in the club. He left, but he's still there.
He left, but he's still. The players say we love him and we stay with him. He has some dubious, way of treating some of the problems. Robben, for example, was sent to a kind of treatment with magnitude stimulation, but it seems that it doesn't work because he finished the season with his muscle injuries. So Bayern needs to overhaul the training regime.
And Mirav, ahead of all this, now they have to travel to Camp Nou with all these problems. What's the press take on this?
The press is focusing on these 2 losses within the last week. The Express Tribune saying Champions League Bayern falter ahead of Pep's Barca return, saying it's been the worst possible run into the match. And after the 2 injuries to 2 stars, ESPN FC Bayern Munich lackluster and Leverkusen as Pep's men fall flat. Only very minorly talking about the fact that it was the B-side playing because they've chosen to rest some of the stars that they have left ahead of this Champions League match.
Again, if they, I wouldn't say there's a favorite, but with Bayern Munich coming in with all these problems, it may go Barcelona's way.
But Barcelona is definitely favorite as things, unfold. Right now, Barcelona is cruising and really, really in good shape. And Bayern has its problems. Pep Guardiola, if we were, had spoken two months ago, it would have been another discussion. But now, Barcelona are favorites going into this tie. And, but for Pep, maybe it's good to be underdog. He's coming back to the place when he was the, ball boy then. Yeah.
Where he was everything.
Yeah, he won the first European title of Barcelona in '92. He was the best manager of all time. Stuff very, very emotional, and it should be a great tie. You should expect Bayern to up the level.
That match is Wednesday night. Amit Leventhal, Marav Savir, thank you very much. We'll see you again tomorrow. And that's it for Talking Football today. Thank you for watching and join us again tomorrow. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.